I'm Harrison Apple, and I'm from Jupiter, Florida. It was probably 3 or 4 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. The memory's kind of hazy, but we were at this vigil for a trans man who had committed suicide. So we're standing in the parking lot of the gas station at East Carson Street and the bridge. They meet right there. And we're waiting for the family of the person who had died to show up. While we're waiting for these people to show up, and it's a somber event, but at a certain point you're just waiting in a gas station parking lot. We all who are there for the vigil get talking. And we're talking about who we are, we're introducing ourselves to people we don't know. I met this older trans woman who showed up on like a reclining bicycle, and she had all her gear on. She looked very professional. And this really amazing LED helmet. And we got to be kind of fast friends, or perhaps friends too fast. She was talking to me about, her own personal history. She was talking to me about her life, and we got to talking about myself, and she asked me, what my name was, and I'm like, I'm Harrison. She goes, really, you look more like a Helen. And I thought to myself, like, sure, I get it. You're trying to give me some advice, you're trying to tell me about, what it's like to go through this, because you've already done it, and I really appreciate that from her. But I tried to explain, I'm not really interested in changing my name. I identify as sort of gender fluid or gender queer. I'm not looking to turn into a man or a woman. Neither of those categories seem to really sit with me well. But I didn't really know how to talk about it, and so I just sort of said, okay, yeah. And she goes, next time I see you, I want you to have a girl's name. And I thought, sure, next time I see you. I don't remember her name, and I don't know where she lives, so I don't think that next time is coming up anytime soon, but it was something that kind of weighed on me for a while, and it was a somber event. I really didn't want to make it about myself. I didn't intend to. So I hadn't thought about it for quite a while, but I run a social history project where I talk to elderly trans and queer people in Pittsburgh. I started the Pittsburgh Queer History Project in 2012. It's an oral history and media archive project, mostly about LGBTQ lives in Pittsburgh from 1960 to 1990. Most specifically, it's about underground social clubs that were kind of secret gay bars during that time period. Part of that asks them to identify themselves in photographs from the 60s and 70s, them now being in their 70s. And a couple of them helped to articulate something that I couldn't even figure out for myself that day. It happened when I was interviewing a friend of mine, Miss Angie, and she's this older TS sex worker, and she was a big kid in these clubs where a bunch of photographs were taken I happened to have, so I showed them to her, and she's talking about transitioning when she's about 16 and 18 and 22 and 34, and there's all these different moments and all these different transitions, and none of them are going in one direction in particular. And I had never really heard someone talk about themselves that way, about saying like, oh, I was a gay boy, and then I was a booby queen, and then I was a woman, but then I went back to being a guy, and then I was a lesbian, and then I was a woman again, and it was just all these identifiers that we get told are kind of who you truly are and who you're going to be. And she was sort of throwing and playing around with them in a way I hadn't seen before. And she sort of was able to articulate something about how gender doesn't have to be something that is from one to the other, from male to female or female to male, or even between the two, that you can choose and that's okay. And it was sort of a resolution to hear someone tell me not only was it possible, but that it was a huge part of who they are and how they survived. That sometimes you have to, sometimes you want to, and it's not. It doesn't have to be this terribly earnest journey to one particular spot. And I think that was a huge relief because I don't want to be a woman. I don't want to be a man. I think it's important that people make up their own mind about gender because we're in a time and place where gender isn't what we used to think it was. It's not something that you read off a document. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And why not now more than ever to decide what gender means for you?